All right, we are going to cover the monthly maintenance that you need to do on the Qidi X-Smart 3 3D printer in order to keep it operating at optimum capabilities. Then in the next couple of weeks, I'll make a couple more videos. One will cover some of the little embellishments and tips that I've done for my printer. Then we'll go over some of the major repairs that I've had to do with my printer. Now, some of the materials that you're going to want are some clean cotton rags. Definitely do not use paper towels. And then we'll use a type of silicone grease called Super Lube. And I'll put links to that on for my Amazon. And then you're going to want real light machine oil, and I use this sewing machine oil. It has an extendable spout that makes it real nice to get into the areas in the printer that you need. It's also good for sewing machines, of course. And then you want rubbing alcohol. 99% isopropyl alcohol works real well for this. You use it to clean the build plate, which I just finished washing this with dish soap and warm water. And now we'll use the rubbing alcohol to clean off any other residue that might be left behind. And because I do use a little bit of PlexiClean to clean the windows, and this is not a glass cleaner. You don't want to use anything ammonia based, but just uh, something that's going to clean that plastic without causing it to get scratched up and clouded. All right, so first I'm going to take a clean rag and clean off that build plate, and then we'll set it aside. And I do use a little bit of glue stick for some of my projects, and so that comes off with a little bit of soap and water, but you want to use that rubbing alcohol to finish it off. And then the trough that's around the outside of the plate is always getting gunked up with all these little bits and pieces of plastic. So just use a clean, preferably new paintbrush, or I use a small brush out of my shaving kit that isn't used for anything, never was used for anything. And then once you've gotten that cleaned out, we're going to move this print bed out of the way and prepare for deeper cleaning. Okay, so yeah, those bits and pieces of plastic just get all over the place everywhere. The first thing I'm working on here are those worm gears, the things that look like two screws. There's one on each side. I'm just taking an old piece of sock and cleaning off that silicone grease. It's a real heavy grease. It's not something that you have to clean it completely off, but I'm just working at it a little bit, working that sock into the grooves a little bit, but not being real forceful. Do everything gently here and cleaning out the worst of the gunk. And you can see it's pretty nasty stuff. And I'm afraid to say that's actually more than a month's worth of buildup. That's probably closer to 2 months, but I've been doing a lot of printing. Now, using a clean piece of t-shirt, actually, old t-shirt here, I'm just wiping down those 4 smooth stainless steel rods that the build plate moves up and down on, that the print bed moves up and down on. Those are just guide rods, but just wipe those down. They're not going to be terribly dirty. Then once we have that clean, then using both hands on one on each opposite side of the print bed, we're going to raise that print bed up and out of the way. It takes slow, steady, firm force. Don't want to jerk on it, don't want to twist it, just steady force. Move it up so that you can get into those areas underneath. Now you can see a lot more scraps of old plastic left underneath there. Pick out the big bits, and then we'll clean off the bottom section of those worm gears, the metal screw things that move the print bed up and down. Getting both sides here. And then we will go ahead and clean off those stainless steel rods. Yep, it's looking better. Okay, so and the stainless rods, they don't take a lot of major cleaning. Seems like all the gunk gathers in that heavy silicone grease that's on the worm gears, but just wiping those rods down. And then I have a nice little 1 gallon light horsepower shop vac that works real well for this type of a job. Doesn't have so much suction it's going to do any damage or anything, but it does a good job. Okay, now we'll take that super lube and just squeeze out just a little bit on my finger, about as much as you might put on a toothbrush or so. And we're just going to wipe that around on the worm gear, just on the worm gear. That's the only place this stuff goes. And it doesn't have to be really heavily coated. Just spread it up and down in there. And then same thing on the other side. Just wiping it up and down, kind of pushing it down into those grooves a little bit. But they don't have to be absolutely filled up, because otherwise you're just going to end up with a big blob of it the first couple of times your print bed rides down. Just a light coat. And then we'll take that sewing machine oil. Here's where you'll see where that extendable spout is so nice. Just pop that out. And then I'm just putting a couple of drops. You don't want to overdo it because it's just going to run down into the bottom of your printer. Just a few drops up and down there, kind of spread it up and down. It doesn't have to run all the way down because we're going to spread it out here in a second anyway. This is a good quality machine oil that we're using here. And again, you get this on Amazon, and I'll put links to that in the super lube in the the description, so you can get this if you want it. Now I'm just going to take a clean piece of towel and we'll wipe down those rods, wiping up the excess machine oil. We want to leave just a film on there, just a quick wipe, not cleaning it off, just leaving a little film on there. That's all you want. Okay, now we're going to push that print bed back down so that we can work on the upper half. It takes a little bit of force, but just slow, steady force, again with my hands on opposite sides of the print bed. Okay, now taking a little bit of that super lube and wiping it on the upper couple of inches of the worm gear that we couldn't reach when the print bed was covering it up. You can see I'm not using a lot of it on there, just spreading it on there, and that'll do. And then with the sewing machine oil, just a drop or two in the top couple of inches of each of the stainless steel guide rods. Not wanting to put too much on there at all, just a couple of drops on each one, and then again we'll wipe that down real quick just to leave a film on there. Okay, now I'm going to raise the print bed all the way up. This is just to distribute the oil and the grease, raising it up all the way up to the top, then push it all the way back down, and that just distributes the oil and the grease all up and down their lengths. All right. Now another quick wipe down with rubbing alcohol on the print bed. This is without the build plate on there, but it just cleans that off because you don't want anything on there that might cause some problems with the heating. If you got a little bit of that silicone grease that might interfere with even heating, and then you don't want to leave any little bits and pieces of plastic or anything in there that might distort the distance between your build plate and the print head. Okay, then the last bit is where we're going to take some of that rubbing alcohol and a clean piece of t-shirt, and we're carefully cleaning those two carbon rods that your print head rides on. We'll clean it on each end, and then we can move that print head out of the way and get the other end of it. It has a little bit of residue that comes off, but this shouldn't be really dirty, and we don't have any grease or anything like that on here. This doesn't get oiled. It is just getting cleaned with the rubbing alcohol, and that's all we do. You want to use clean t-shirt again, or never paper towel, not on any part of this, because you do not want to scratch those carbon rods. If you do, they're not something you can replace. They tell you so on that big sign in the back of the printer. Okay, well, that wraps things up. I hope it helps you take better care of your printer and keep it working for a long time. Right. Have a good day.